Welcome.
Welcome to the Two to Ramble podcast. My name is Richard.
My name is Austin.
This is our first attempt at being internet e-boys.
Yes, and this is our first podcast ever. We have not recorded anything prior to this moment.
Oh yeah, nothing.
It's our first take.
Oh yeah, no mistakes.
Zero.
Absolutely none.
Zero mistakes. So, confession. I am the editor of the group. He's like the website and all the technical stuff for the group. All this, like, no idea how to put this together. So as I was editing 2 episodes, the first one maybe an hour and 40, hour 50 minutes, almost
Something
2
like
hours.
that, yeah.
Second one was about an hour plus. So this is technically our 3rd episode, and we were supposed to be posting at this point for like a week plus.
Yeah, but
we talked about, like, we're gonna get into some of the stuff so we can, fill the people in. But yeah, the files are all gone. It's just weird how technology works like that. It kind of just disappeared.
it sometimes just happens.
Now, I screwed up royally, and now we're having what I like to think is that was good practice, though. We kind of got our, we got
Sure.
comfortable in the seat.
Uh-huh.
Okay, there's no way to justify it. I've had to struggle with days of him staring daggers at me.
Now, at the end of the day, like, I would be angry if you deleted something of value. But currently, as it stands,
it was so bad. Like, we had like 2 minutes of good footage.
This is an unaired podcast. What value did you delete? You deleted our time.
Yeah.
You deleted our time.
Which
That's
is also
what it is.
pretty valueless. So, end of the day.
Oh well.
So, welcome to our first podcast.
All right. So, this podcast is about us kind of rambling about books, TV shows, movies, discussing what we think about it. On most things, we agree on a lot.
Yeah.
Which is probably not the best combo to have for a podcast discussion. Kind of leads to a little bit of circle jerking, but that's fine. But actually, a lot of this podcast idea came from the rating system we developed with our friends.
Yes.
Which, like, I personally think it's a great numerical system to apply to art. Because I think art can really be boiled down to the numbers.
It's mathematical.
It's a we're not only right, we're mathematically right about our movie opinions.
I seriously think this is just the perfect rating system, though. People should use this. Take it, use it.
Oh, yeah.
For everything.
All right, so a quick rundown of it. So what we have is 5 categories that runs through any kind of medium, like books, TVs, or movies.
Right, which we're going to review a ton of that, right? So, like, a new movie comes out, like Batman. We're going to see that this week. That's probably going to be our 2nd episode.
Probably.
Today we should also introduce real quick Way of Kings.
We're going to be talking about Way of Kings because it was the first book that got me into epic fantasy.
Likewise. Yeah.
But starting off, the rating system starts off with number 1, emotional impact.
That's right.
What that involves is what the movie intended to do. So is it a comedy? How much did it make you laugh? Is it a tragedy? How did it make you cry? Is it action? Did you get excited? So whatever the emotional impact was intended, did you feel it?
And that's rated out of 10, right?
Yep, out of 10.
Very simply put, there's 5 categories, and each is rated out of 10.
Yep.
And then you total that, so it'll be out of 50, right? So you divide by 5, the 5 categories, and you get your out of 10 score for the whole book, the whole movie. So that first category is emotional impact, and the second is characters.
Yeah. Characters, how well did they develop? How well were they realized? Did they feel inconsistent? Do you connect with them, basically? Yep. Third would be plot. So was it an interesting plot? Did it take you along? Not was it complex, but was it well executed for what they're doing?
Exactly.
Example, 1917. Simple plot.
Very.
Go to here. Stop the stop the attack. That's it. But it's intriguing. You're actually involved with it. Where a plot like Knives Out, complicated but incredibly well executed. So what we think about the plot. Fourth is
Dialogue / it depends with the book, right?
depends on the medium. So if it's a movie, dialogue.
Yep.
If it's or movie or TV show. If it's a book, dialogue / prose.
Yeah.
Kind of goes together in there.
Yep.
And then the last is the fifth category, which changes depending on the medium. So for TV shows and movies, it would be cinematography. So how are things looking in frame? What was the action like? If there's CG, how well does it look? Practical effects,
Directing,
all that stuff.
visuals, sounds, yeah.
And then for books, it would be world building, because I think that would be the most important aspect,
Especially in fantasy, yes.
especially in fantasy. But that's the fifth category is the wild card one. But we rate each one out of 10, and then we have our average score. Personally, I only use whole numbers. I don't do fractions because it's already 10. Don't need to divide it any further. Just makes it harder on us. But
I use fractions. I get to the
uses
decimals.
fractions. Which,
I go to the nearest 1,000th.
Yeah, you got to really be precise.
You do, because you can't have two, like, what if 2 movies are exactly 9s? No, it can't be. You have to have one like a 9.1.
Well, they're in a range. Like, that's the thing. I can't, narrow it down that hard. But anyway.
Great rating system.
Oh, yeah.
Works across, so far, we've done it with dozens, and if not hundreds, of books / movies, shows. We actually went through Avatar: The Last Airbender. We had a whole group of us, roommates and all, just watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, all 3 seasons, and we didn't just rate the seasons or the show. We rated every individual episode. With this rating system, so emotional impact, characters, plot, dialogue, cinematography, since it's a show, not a book, did it for all 5, for every single episode, and by the end, we found out that the best episode is...
Oh, it's the
fortune teller.
The fortune teller, yeah.
It is.
Mathematically, the best episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Every category, it's just, I'm emotionally involved.
I was very happy that we both agreed wholeheartedly at the end of the day.
Who needs Bossing say, the Tales of Bossing say, the best Iroh scene ever?
Screw Iroh, screw Zuko. Like, we don't need any of their character
I couldn't even joke my way into saying that. That was brave. That was very brave of you. We're gonna get absolutely hated on for our first episode.
All my mom and Steve.
No, it's Colin. Get it right.
I had the hope that some additional person would also watch. I had the false hope that 3 people would watch it.
Because you met that guy Colin, right?
No, Colin's a Micro Center, but at this point, I told him like 2-3 weeks ago that we had a podcast. He's not looking it up now. It's too late.
Are you blaming me for that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, just wanted to get that clear.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Colin. That is on me. We promised Colin at Micro Center when we were buying some equipment that we were going to have a podcast. It was going to be ready to go, and there's no chance he's waited for us.
Absolutely not.
So you're right. Mom and hopefully Steve are out there.
Oh, well.
And maybe our friends, which we're going to bring them up quite a lot, I think, because it'll be more fun if we make fun of some people.
Well, that's the test. Did they actually watch our podcast? Is like whether or not they're insulted the next day.
Fantastic.
So if I get the evil eye from Justin in the morning, then I know that he saw the podcast. Good.
It's a good thing. He cares.
He cares. Yeah. He actually cared to watch.
Yeah. How neat.
But anyway, let's actually go right into the book that started it all. At least for my literary journey, like quite literally the first high fantasy book that I read was The Way of Kings. Other than I read Hobbit like a while ago, but that's not
sure.
Lord of the Rings is high fantasy. Hobbit's more of a children's. But anyway,
this rejuvenated.
It rejuvenated my love in reading again.
Yep.
Which, honestly, I really can't thank it enough. It's because of this that I read The Wheel of Time, the best book series ever.
Which you'll see he designed the bookshelf specifically, so right above my head you just see the fat collection of Robert Jordan Wheel of Time.
And I don't know if I think it's slightly out of frame that I'm also collecting first edition hardcovers of the entire Wheel of Time.
I think they could see it. It's like we're here.
Maybe.
Maybe it's cut off.
I'll get it. I'll get it eventually. But Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings.
Yes.
Right off the gate, Emotional impact for me. Pulling out. I give actually emotional impact a 9. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I think it's the best aspect of the book, personally. And I will be honest, I rated this book much higher when I first read it and I didn't read anything else. My opinion about the book has changed after reading others.
Fair.
That doesn't...
Perspective.
It's changed my perspective, but it's still amazing.
This book's incredible. The series is incredible. Stormlight Archives, this is the first book in the series.
Yeah.
And if you're not... maybe people are hearing about Way of Kings for the first time. This book is... what would you say it's similar to in the fantasy genre? That's very popular because you can't say Lord of the Rings.
No, it's
because
not.
Lord of the Rings is more so...
It's not even... Honestly, it's not even close to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, fair. Okay.
Honestly, a little bit of Wheel of Time. A little bit. And that's
bit.
because Brandon Sanderson was inspired a lot
Okay.
by Robert Jordan. So, but if you read Wheel of Time, you already know about Sanderson. So,
Well,
honestly,
maybe there's not a
I'll
comparison
be
out there.
honest. It feels a little bit like a more in-depth superhero movie.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. I see it.
If I'll be honest, Kaladin, he's a superhero.
He is a superhero. And
But-
before, actually, real quick, too, so you rated it a 9.
Yeah, what
for
did you rate
emotional
it?
I rated it a 9.2. So we're basically on the same page.
Fair enough.
And quick spoiler-free version. You want to do a couple minutes of a spoiler-free, just in case.
Okay,
Someone someone hasn't read it, they want to read it. Give them a little info,
okay.
Yeah. So Way of Kings, the quick spoiler-free version is read it. That's it. Read the book.
Other than that, there's 3 POVs. There's one POV, which is about a girl that is trying to save her family, but she's going to have to do it in a heist-type format. She becomes the ward of a noble woman, and she has to get in her good graces and steal a piece of magic tech from her to save her family. And all the drama that goes along. Then you have Dalinar.
Oh, my favorite. Dalinar is...
Yeah, arguably the best.
favorite
Which is a bloodthirsty war general that decides to become a better man. Not really a pacifist, but a stoic. Like an actual... Honestly, it's him trying to become Aragorn.
It's a little Lord of the Rings similar.
A little bit,
isn't it?
but a real man, a real hero. And he stumbles along the way and trying to figure that out and that balance.
Mhm.
And then you have the sad boy Kaladin.
More than sad boy. It's actually a great story about depression and Sanderson. We're gonna have a lot of praise for Sanderson. He's my personal favorite author. I think he's your second. What did you say? He's right behind Jordan.
He's up there.
Sanderson
Top 3 at least.
is the way he writes mental illness in this book through Kaladin and the hero's journey is fantastic. And I want to say this is spoiler free still. So if you like movies like Gladiator, that is very similar to, not spoiling the ending here, but that's
a great comparison.
Similar to Kaladin's story here. And does he succeed? Who knows? But his start is like what Russell Crowe's character in Gladiator. Maximus.
It's the ultimate underdog.
Yeah.
He starts as a slave, and him battling depression and his failures. Does he rise up to face his challenges even after countless failures?
Mm-hmm.
And story where it goes, it is the highlight of the book. So it's I think Kaladin's the focus. And then real close behind is Dalinar. Great. And we'll get into it a little later. Actually, I'll go right into characters.
Spoilers now. Okay? If you don't want the spoilers in the book,
spoilers.
Check out for a little bit.
We're going right into spoilers.
And now.
Shallan is the weakest part of the book. If we're going right into characters.
You do not hesitate.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I give characters an 8. It would have been higher because I think Brandon Sanderson does characters incredibly well.
Okay.
But Shallan brings it down. She gets much better. She's some of my favorite parts in later books, but in the first book, it's a drag. It's a drag on a third. A third of the book is a little bit of a drag.
I agree there. I gave characters an 8.5. and for reasons being Shalyn. And also, I'm saying only the bad things first because I'm explaining why it's not a 10 out of 10. That's all. The book, phenomenal, top to bottom. But Shalyn and some of the Bridge 4 members are not explained as in depth. I don't get super attached to them. Some of them are kind of just named once.
To be fair, when it comes to ensemble, brotherhood, kind of like groups in fantasy, which is common. Like it's a common trope where the main character is joins some type of group.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson does a good job on getting you to empathize with Bridge 4 as a brotherhood, as a group. A lot of books fall short. Much further.
As a unit, I care so much about Bridge 4.
Yeah.
I wish I cared more about the individuals in Bridge 4 in this book.
Fair enough.
Gets better.
Fair
and
enough.
More developed. But as far as this book goes, Bridge 4, I feel like I'm a part of Bridge 4.
Yeah.
But some of even the main characters in Way of Kings, you have Rock and Teft. Who's the cousin? The guy that has a bunch of cousins. Lupin?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's funny. But I wish I got some more from them. But at the same time, the trade-off to that is getting Kaladin, Dalinar, Navani, Jesna, and specifically Kaladin and Dalinar, Adolin.
Yeah.
Where these characters are...
Navani was a surprise. Surprise interest for me. If you've read it already, for some reason, Navani interested me. Like, I wanted more of her character. She just was odd. Like, she's clearly like this elder-ish stateswoman who, she's the mother of the previous king. She's the mother of the king and, wife of the previous king. Has all this power, but doesn't really have real power and influence, but people still treat her that way. Just how she messes with people is so fun to see.
Yep.
And then her interactions with Dalinar are great. It's enjoyable.
Fantastic, yeah.
But no, so that's characters. Then we go on to plot, which is the lower one for me, which is I give it a 7 on plot, and that's mostly because of Shalyn. It would be higher, but a third of the plot is a little dull.
Okay.
That's my main thing. Kaladin's plot is just... if it was just Kaladin and Dalinar, I think it would be really close to 9 or 10. It would honestly have to be. But a third of the book is... I had to, I was like, every time I came to a Shalyn chapter, I was like, how many more pages till Kaladin comes back?
What'd you think about the big plot twist with Sadeas' betrayal?
Well, it got me.
Yeah.
It actually did get me. Though, maybe that's because I didn't read a lot before, but it got me because the twist, it was a double twist. It was so obvious that Sadeas was going to betray him. Oh, of course he is. But then we find out that actually, Adolin was wrong about other things. And he's probably wrong about Sadeas. But no, he was actually right all along. So that was great. There's so many moments that we could get into much longer. So many. But I do want to get through the whole...
Okay, let's just give our ratings and the rating real quick, then we could talk about the book.
So plot, what'd you give plot?
I gave plot 9.5. I fell in love. I also have a nostalgia factor, although I only read this like a year and a half ago, but the nostalgia of this being what started it all. Mm-hmm. And the plot is pretty simple on face value.
Sure.
It's that simple archetype like 1917, as you were explaining.
I don't know. Well, honestly, the plot is kind of complicated.
Kaladin's. Specifically. Kaladin's is, it's...
And also, Dalinar, honestly, both him and Dalinar have some interesting plot dynamics, and Dalinar trying to manage a kingdom, manage his reputation, compare how people fear his past and now are kind of mocking his present state.
Dalinar is my favorite part of the book. So, yes. Yeah. Kaladin's story to me is pretty, it's that hero trope of slave to champion or slave to he gets freed.
Yeah.
That, there's a lot more that happens in between that, but the start to finish, if you've seen it before, it's the way he does it is fantastic.
It is very on the nose trope, but it's just executed so well that you don't care.
No.
I'm cheering alongside. Like,
Syl.
Syl was great, but now I'm cheer. It was while I was reading this book, there was a moment in during the end, a scene where Kaladin actually goes back and jumps across the bridge to save Adolin.
Oh yeah.
And I actually was alone in a room, and I stood up and said, "Yeah, go Kaladin!" And I, out loud, in a room while reading to myself. Like, that's how emotionally attached I was to those characters in that moment.
I feel that. I do.
No, I remember hearing you, like, scream, like you were making some noise in your room upstairs. I could hear you.
If you knew I was finishing the book, and I had like 100 pages left, and I said, I'm just going to finish it today.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a great time.
But let's go on to prose and dialogue. Little up. I'd put it at an 8.
8, I gave it a 9.7.
Okay.
And then real quick, world building.
I gave world building a 7, and that is
okay. We'll talk about that.
the first book. It gets better.
Okay, and then I gave world building a 9,
Mm-hmm.
and my total review of Wave Kings, and we just want to give you our number real quick, and we'll talk about it in detail. 9.18.
I didn't even average all these yet.
See, that's what whole numbers get you. Whole numbers get you sidetracked from what really matters. So 9.18, and we've got what for you?
7.8.
7.8. That's pretty low.
I mean, I consider 5 average. I have a lot of 5s.
Me too. I just think this is a.
I have a lot of
9
5
out of 10er.
books and like 6s and things, and I'll be at like the other books get much higher.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Honest question.
Yeah.
An absolute miracle occurs. We actually get to 5 viewers.
Oh yeah.
And that 5 viewers turns to 15 somehow. Maybe 3 years down the line. Let's
You're
say
asking a bit much.
Listen, I'm asking a bit much. I'm saying pretend there's a multiverse where there's a better version of ourselves, right? Where we're successful. Okay? Now get into that multiverse. We now have, we're up there with the Daniel Greens. We're booktuber podcasters stuff, okay? We get Sanderson.
Yeah.
On the podcast. Are you gonna say to his face, Brandon Sanderson, my hero, Wave Kings is a set, and you're going to say set, and Brandon Sanderson's right there is going to shut you up. What are you going to say to him?
I mean,
Be honest.
I'll be honest. I think it's a 7.8.
He's going to end a Zoom call and say, this is the worst podcast. I cannot believe I've been deceived. I thought you guys were fans of mine.
I am. That's a fan review.
It's such a harsh review.
No, it is.
I'm simply pretty harsh, too. That's why I'm surprised, because you're more... I think it's more with TV shows and movies, that you tend to rate stuff, it nets higher for you. And books, since you've read so many books, maybe you have more perspective to give what's a 9 versus a 7.
Well, I do have the uncanny ability to shut my brain off and enjoy things. Like, I can sit down and watch a TV show that is awful. Awful.
Oh, I've seen it.
And
I've witnessed it.
I'll just watch it and go like, oh, that's pretty good. And I did not think it. Like, just, I was there for the journey. I may have seen the show 3 or 4 times, and I'll still get surprised at the twist ending.
There's one exception, though.
Which one?
Blood of Zeus.
Yes and no. Like, I was carried around, but I was like, is it going to get better? It has to get better.
It kept you going.
It kept me going because it was not good, and I was like, it has to get better. Like, this can't be it.
There's more.
There has to be more.
The Valkyrie person was like,
it was all this
cool.
setup and going, oh, coolness. Like,
Yeah.
it should come, but it didn't. It never came.
And our friend recommended that to us. You remember who that was?
Oh, yeah.
Misha. I was hoping we said that at the same time.
Misha.
Okay. I thought we were going name and then saying piece of shit. But
We're
okay,
not on the
let's
same
hold on.
wavelength here.
Retry. Ready? God damn pizza.
Misha.
Okay, so Misha is used to be our friend a while ago.
And then he recommended Blood of Zeus
Then he
to us to
recommended
watch.
Blood of Zeus and a lot of other things that we'll have him on the podcast one day.
Oh, one day.
Off screen. You'll just hear his voice shouting from the
He doesn't
side.
get a mic.
Guys,
Not that we can't.
I thought Blood of Zeus was really cool.
Nah, I think he backtracked that recommendation, though.
Yeah, but
He
we
tried,
bullied him into backtracking that.
Yeah. Now, he has some incorrect opinions.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was the alternate title, is Correct Opinions.
Oh, of the podcast.
Yeah, I
okay,
think.
yeah.
Because
Correct
everyone
opinions,
but
yes.
us has incorrect opinions.
And like I said,
Because we use math for our opinions, and others don't, obviously.
and it's strange. You have a 7.8, I have a 9.18, but they're both correct.
They're both correct.
Somehow.
From a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view. Now, let's talk about some of the biggest scenes in this book and why.
Okay.
Try to give some good thoughts about it. The 7.8, I know it looks low on paper, but you did love this book.
Oh, yeah. I have a huge soft spot for it. And the thing is with the rating system, unfortunately, is you're going to get these scores where emotional impact, 9. Like, I felt, I loved. Like, I did really, in all honesty, maybe emotional impact is the most important.
Yeah, to me it is. Well, characters are.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's plenty of books that example, Name of the Wind, has one of the most beautiful prose they've ever come across. Dialogue, amazing.
Gorgeous.
It is the 10 out of 10 prose. However, characters is dog shit. They are awful. Awful, awful, awful. Plot, terrible. It is one of my lowest rated books. Just...
Good old Patty.
Oh, God, I can't even read the second book. I just don't want to.
Well,
and it's one of the most beautifully written books. And, I don't know how I can feel that way of, it is gorgeous. I did feel emotion. He wrote scenes of songs being sung and playing an instrument. And I felt it. That was one of the best written scenes of written songs. It was great. I felt like I was there, and then, other than that, nothing. But Sanderson, I loved it all the way.
Not just is Sanderson a fantastic writer. He is consistent. He is a machine.
Oh, no,
Patrick Ruffus, who wrote The Name of Wind, one of the big critiques he gets is he's very like George R. R. Martin, where he hasn't published or written his third book in the trilogy, or is it
over
a
trilogy? A decade.
Or is it going to be more than that? But whatever it's going to be.
He says a trilogy.
He has not written it in over a decade. Same with George R. R. Martin.
He released the first episode, the first chapter a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
Just the first chapter.
Did you read it?
No, I haven't read the second book, so.
But Sanderson is not just a fantastic writer and my favorite writer, but the way he treats his fans and the way he is so consistent with publishing and writing is kind of inhuman.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned. Somehow he has a great work-life balance. Seems like he's living great out in Utah. Teaches that class, which if you guys are writers, watch that class online. He does it every year. Mm-hmm. I think it's it starts with a B, somewhere out in Utah. But Sanderson, on his website, keeps track and shows his fans where he is at in his book. So whether he's 10, 20, 30% done with the first draft, the second draft, the editing phase. And just the fourth book in the series, Rhythm of War, came out, and he just announced that
Which you still have not read, by the way.
And he announced that he's just starting the fifth book. See? So
you've had, I think, 6 months?
Oh, no, like 3 months.
You haven't read a page
I've
in 3
had
months.
a pause on reading. I'm getting back into it. And I've just been editing so much with these podcasts, and my time has been consumed with so much podcast work. I mean, you should have seen them. They were edited to perfection. I had like just CGI in the background. There was a cool. I tried to put some color to the walls here. Oh, I was doing great. Way of Kings.
You could not measure my disappointment.
But Way of Kings, overall, we rambled off into nowhere there.
Yeah.
So some of the biggest things in Way of Kings. That's what we were talking about. The biggest scenes in Way of Kings. What's your favorite scene? Blurt it out there. Say it with your lungs. We know what it is. Come on.
It's Dalinar.
Thank you.
Giving the blade for Adolin and Bridgeforth.
Yes, the priceless scene. Come on.
it's thing is there's a bunch of things that were close to me.
Yeah.
Like I think Kaladin on the edge of the cliff in the beginning was such an emotional scene for me personally that's what really got me to read the full book.
Oh, for sure.
And got me to continue.
For sure.
But that one,
And the significance of Syl bringing that
Kaladin
poison
in the storm. He is mine. I claim him. Ah, just so cute. Ugh.
Syl's fantastic.
Honestly, any scene where people acknowledge the Blackthorn,
right?
Awesome. Just
right.
I love like in very beginning is like, oh, who's this old man? Like, ugh, look at this pacifist. He's trying to like honor the codes. Like, ugh. I mean, this old man's past his time, and then he just destroys a monster, and everyone's like, "Oh no, the Blackthorn's still the Blackthorn. He's still got it. He still has it."
And the other best scene, which I want to give you credit for this, because we were talking about Wave Kings in the podcast that is no longer with us at the moment. But you mentioned this, and I completely forgot because it's right at the end of the book.
Oh yeah, Dalinar telling the king, by the way, I'm banging your mom.
What a beautiful...
Or I will be banging your mom. He
says it so elegantly. It's just...
Oh yeah.
He storms in that room and is just fed up.
I think that was
politicking.
That was catharsis right there. We had a whole book of Dalinar trying to be the politician and trying to prove to his nephew that, hey, look, I'm on your side. I'm trying to help you. And his nephew just being a paranoid, weak person, a weak man and a weak king.
Ultra paranoid, right? About something that happened to his son.
Oh no, he thought that he had a right kinda to be paranoid, but like yeah, someone was trying to get to him, but the way he's acting was not going to help.
Yeah.
And he thought that maybe Dalinar was trying to kill him, and which basically led to him trusting Sadeas, which screwed over Dalinar. And like all this stuff, and the king is just not being logical. The king is just kind of throwing a fit, and Dalinar's just going there like, my God, can you just be a competent leader for once? And then finally, just goes into the king's door, kicks him out on the balcony, and says, guess what? Every single guard in your palace is mine. I could kill you right here, and they are my men. I could kill you anytime I wanted. But I'm not, because I'm on your side. So get that through your thick, thick skull, that if I wanted to be king, I could kill you now. Also, by the way, I'm banging your mom. So
was it in that order?
Yeah,
it was. Okay, good.
It was in that order.
He threatened him first, and then okay, yeah.
No, Alcala was like, by the way, Dalinar,
not even.
I heard these rumors that you and my mom, like, I don't want there to be anything uncouth going on. And it's like, better get used to. Your mom and I are a thing, so you better get used to that.
And Navani and her character, we don't get a ton of her in Wave Kings, but you were saying how she becomes one of the better characters in the book.
I very much wish we could talk about the fourth book.
No, we can't yet. What, more good things happen? I'll get there.
This is Kaladin's book.
Okay.
Second is Shallan's book. Third is Dalinar.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth is Navani's book.
Oh, interesting.
That's her book.
Okay.
And it's great. It's my favorite Stormlight book.
Wow. Over Oathbringer?
Over Oathbringer.
God, I can't imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
Over Rhythm, or what's the second? Words of Radiance?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, for me, each book gets progressively better.
That's the sign of a fantastic series, which we're going to say this every podcast. I'm going to make sure to put it in, but Lord of the Rings, fantastic trilogy, the greatest of all time. One of the things that's so impressive about it is it arguably gets better with each episode. Or not each episode, with each movie.
There's not many movies that do that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But we're going to mention it at least once per podcast, and I had to get the... which we already did multiple times, but I just wanted to throw it in there again.
Before the Rings of Power, my goal... Before that thing drops in September...
Okay.
I hope to finish the Silmarillion and a couple of the other ancillary stories... that go further basically they're stories that go deeper into some of the tales told in the Silmarillion.
Like the Second Age and
The first and second age.
okay.
And so I'm hoping to finish those by the time I get there, by the time September. So I will be able to have a more accurate negative opinion about the show. I already know I'm not going to like... I'll be honest.
They're not basing it on Lord of the Rings, from what I heard.
Okay, just the mess of it is they were able to buy Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Okay.
That's all. They have that. So they could, if they wanted to, do a TV show of The Lord of the Rings. They could just remake The Lord of the Rings, but as a TV show, and include all the stuff that Peter Jackson left out, which maybe fans would like. Because with a TV show, you could add more time, and it could be a more accurate book version of it.
Okay.
Or, hell, throw this one out there. You want to get some diversity in characters? There are some characters in Middle-earth that side with Sauron because of the problems with basically Gondor. And you could do a television show on go deeper into those characters that are not explored in Lord of the Rings. So you can kind of make it up as you want, because Tolkien didn't go into it. You can take your own liberty with it and explore those characters and give an interesting side of it. Like, that could be interesting. And you have all the diversity characters you want. Do whatever you want with that. But no, they decide to take the 30-something pages of the from the Return of the King. No.
Oh, from Return of the King. Okay.
From the Return of the King, there are about 30 pages of notes. Like, there's not...
What do you mean notes?
Not notes.
The appendix? Or?
Appendix, yes.
Oh, really?
The appendix.
From the appendix?
From the appendix of Return of the King.
Okay.
They are basing their television show off of that.
Huh.
Which basically gives nuggets into the first, second age.
So they're going to freeball it, mostly.
It's basically freeballing, yes.
And we see what happens with shows like Game of Thrones when they freeball it.
Yeah. But this time they're starting out of the gate.
Oh,
freeballing.
That's not even an adaptation at that point.
No,
what you're saying
not.
is true.
It is. They don't have the rights to Silmarillion.
You're positive. This show...
I am positive. They do not have the rights to Silmarillion. They are not allowed to take anything directly from the Silmarillion.
I'm going in with a really negative attitude about it then. I'm not going to expect a lot.
I knew
if
that
it's not based on Lord of the Rings.
The thing is, if it isn't, they could set it in the world and do something that is not explored. In Lord, there's plenty of stuff in Tolkien that you could explore something that isn't... Tolkien didn't already do.
Yeah.
Go with that. Tell your own story inside. But if you're you're just going to tell a worse version of what Tolkien already did, why bother? There's no point. And in all honesty, the teaser trailer looked a little generic, but you don't get much from it. Like, in all honesty, like, you can't get too much of a negative or positive review from the teaser itself. But just all the background information following this TV show. How they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion, yet they're doing a story from the Silmarillion. They're doing... How they're marketing it is clearly... They don't care about the characters. They don't care about the story. They just care about the title, Lord of the Rings, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, it's just buzzwords. But they don't go into, like... What's the character's journey? What's the plot? Like, they don't care about any of it. And so I already know, like, I'm not going to like it.
You've really looked into this.
Yeah.
I
haven't followed.
I saw the trailer, about a minute long.
Yeah.
You showed me that trailer, that clip, which...
Mm-hmm. It's just generic.
It's generic.
It gives you nothing.
That's the thing I was a little squirming about, was the minute trailer looked like I was watching a generic movie trailer.
Yeah.
And
I think it actually had music from Star Wars trailer.
What?
It didn't have Lord of the Rings music. It had like generic... I think it used music from a Lord of the Rings Star Wars trailer.
Who knows?
I think I may be wrong on that, but I remember it sounded similar.
Hey, maybe if September comes, we're going to watch it for their sake. Might as well.
For moms.
Give our review. And Colin, maybe we'll get Colin around. Maybe the word gets out to Colin. that that we're reviewing what is it called?
The Rings of Power.
the Ring
Lord
of
of the
Pow-
Rings.
Rings of Power.
The Rings of Power.
And maybe he comes around and listens to our review on it. We'll give the right review because, as you see, I think we're done. We pretty much got Wave Kings, right? Yeah. Please read Wave Kings. Please.
Oh, yeah.
It's phenomenal.
And also, because the Way of Kings is a thick boy, if you don't want to commit to a really thick series, and maybe the series isn't done yet, so you don't want to restart a series that isn't completed, try Mistborn. Mistborn was very good. It's a trilogy, shorter, and it's some of great Sanderson work. So, if you don't want to go
Sanderson is
yeah
recommended. Yeah, and we'll have more reviews on some Sanderson stuff too. He's just read it across the board. But yeah, the Rings of trailer, Rings of Power.
The thing is, diversity is not in and of itself bad. It isn't. It's fine. It can be admirable in some cases, but it's just a pattern that if you see the marketing and if you see the shows, either book, movie, or television show, if their focus is diversity, they're probably going to miss out on other aspects. They're probably not going to write good characters. The plot is probably not going to be very interesting. It's like, I can be wrong, sure, but the trend is like it just keeps happening. Where if you
sacrifice story,
there's plenty of stories out there that have diversity in them, but it clearly wasn't the focus. It just is. It's a part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because the characters are more important. The plot is more important. The world building is more important than the color of someone's skin. It's not that important. Past, like, the poster. After the poster's done, you need to tell a story.
Now, what are they doing so there's some controversy, right?
Yeah.
In that Lord of the Rings is set in England, or a what period
with
would you say?
Specific
in English/Norse? What is it inspired on?
So Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings as he wanted to write a mythology for northern Europe.
Okay.
Basically, because of history within Northern Europe, their history and mythology was taken from them. Like, they were conquered. Basically, their own mythology's gone. And so Tolkien decided, hey, because he's a scholar, he decided to write for fun a little bit. Then it developed like, hey, here's my take on basically British mythology.
Yeah.
There's a lot of white people in Britain. It's mostly white. It's like, especially historically, it's ethnically homogenous. Basically, so that's Middle Earth.
Yeah, and so the controversy is they're having people in Middle Earth who are not.
Yeah, where in Tolkien's work there are characters that are ethnically diverse, but they're not, like, specifically this section that a lot of the story is told is supposed to be fantasy Northern Europe, which is basically white people. Then there's other groups of people.
Well, so in the show, are they going to those other places?
That's the problem.
They're staying in that area where...
Yeah, well, so, like, there's a black elf, which, in and of itself, if you're trying to be accurate to Tolkien, doesn't make sense. Like, they're all supposed to be, at least, the ones in Middle-earth, they're supposed to be fair skin. They all have... Honestly, if they wanted to do a black elf, all right, at least make him look like an elf. Give him the long hair.
What they do.
Like, all elves have long hair. They're supposed to be like a bit of, gender. They're supposed to be more androgynous. Like, the females and males kind of have this elegance, and they're supposed to be tall. They're supposed to have this long flowing hair, typically black or brown hair, not blonde. It happens, but it's rare. It's more commented on. But that is they could have at least done that, but they didn't. Same thing with dwarves. Dwarves are apparently, also not really described to be black, but I think that's a bit more ambiguous. The main thing is that dwarven men and women look so similar that men normally can't tell them apart. So the women also have beards. They have similar build to a man, a dwarven man. And yet in the show, it's clearly a woman. Like, you can't even tell it's a dwarf unless you're told it's a dwarf.
The big concern is, are they focusing so much on, can we cast the right people to be diverse enough that they take away from the story and is actually going to be a good show?
Yeah.
Now, if they can pull this off and it's still a fantastic show and stays true to Tolkien, which, hey, do you ever see that happening?
I'm
not looking.
I'm
like it.
doubtful.
Doubtful, yeah. Well, the way you're describing it, yeah, it's I'm getting pretty doubtful now too. I was a little bit excited when I heard Amazon was doing this.
I was too, but
I was, because we haven't had Lord of the Rings content since The Hobbit.
I watched Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Which is also Amazon, and
season 1 just came out.
Other than casting, and I think they did casting great. Casting is wonderful in the show, and maybe the look of this show actually looks really good, and I think fairly accurate, except the magic system. The magic looks a little wonky, but other than that, that's the positives for the show. Plot.
That's a short list.
Rough. Comes pacing. Pacing was rough. Ending, the last episode. Stinker. And unfortunately, the season 1 is based off of The Eye of the World, which is arguably the worst Wheel of Time book. They could change. Like, all Wheel of Time fans were like, yeah, this could change. Like, you can make changes. You don't need to be, like, exactly accurate. There's plenty of things to change. Like, we're fine with it. Sure. There's a couple things to get right, but change the ending. We're fine with that. And they still didn't do well.
They didn't. Did they change a significant portion of what the story can be in the future? So did they affect the series so that season 2 is going to go off in a different direction? Is that what you were upset about? Or was just the plot of book 1
a couple
not
things,
up to par with the...
couple things character-wise, and they had production issues, both due to COVID and one of their key cast members bailing on, breaking contract and leaving, so they had to replace one of their main characters last minute. So, like, you could you can't blame them for that. Like, what are they gonna do? Because of COVID, there's some scenes that they had planned for. They planned for these big action scenes with a lot of extras. They couldn't get the extras back because COVID. So you can give them a little grace. But in terms of, they changed a lot with the magic system, which I hope they maybe retcon or work it back, because a big part of the Wheel of Time is the fact that there is a female power source and a male power source, Saidin and Saidar. And that's like one of the most central parts of the Wheel of Time. And the fact that women can't see the male half and the males can't see the women's half.
Man, you're spoiling the whole series for me.
Not really.
It's spoiled.
Yeah.
You know my thoughts on spoilers, though.
I've given you time.
Yeah, well, we actually we kind of disagree here a little bit on spoilers, don't we?
I guess so. Maybe.
Spoilers are such a huge deal for me. So Wheel of Time, which I will get to one day.
I'll leave it there. Like, I was disappointed. I'm hoping that most of it is production issues that maybe they'll fix in season 2. Maybe, but after the Rings of Power, I'm looking at just, why have hope?
It's your favorite series of all time, right? The books, so
I always have the books.
It's a little disappointing.
I mean, I always had the books to read again, so...
Yeah. I remember you were super excited when that trailer came out.
Oh, yeah.
You were ecstatic. And I'd never seen you that happy. And I've seen you get jobs. I've seen you almost graduate college. I've seen you... Sorry, that was a bit too far.
No, it's fair.
No, it felt good. I had to get that off my chest.
Oh, yeah.
but I've seen you go through so many life milestones, and yet the happiest. I'm not exaggerating for content here. The happiest I've ever seen you in my life was when they announced Wheel Time's show was coming out. You jumped up and down. Do you remember? Physically, imagine this man jumping up and down. Like it was. It's
cool.
like a child, and I was so happy for you. I'd never seen you so excited, and I wanted it to do so well. And then as the episodes came out, episode 1, I was like, "How was it, Richie?" You're like, it had. How was episode 2, Richie? Well, I think. How was episode 3? I think. How was episode 4? 4. And then your depression got worse and worse. And,
Well, there was a moment there though, like first episode not so good, second episode better. There was like episode 6 was pretty darn good. Like there's some stuff, there's some
hope.
nuggets. There were nuggets, and then the ending was not good. So it's like a little bit of a roller coaster.
yeah.
But man, when the show gave time to let the characters breathe and just have some character moments where like they slowed down and the characters kind of just chatting not about the plot but just like honestly one of my favorite scenes from the show is the main cat, and this is not much of a spoiler.
No, I'm just
this
kidding.
is a side thing, but the cast is walking. They're on horses going through, and they're all pretty sad, dejected, depressed after having to leave their home. And one of the characters sees that everyone else is kind of sad and kind of dejected, and he starts singing a little song,
Okay.
a little village song.
Toss a coin to your witcher. Not that kind of song.
No, but
Okay.
it's a song. He starts singing this little folk song that they have, and the others start, looking up, and they start chiming in, and then the wizard, the mentor wizard character Moraine, is looking, going like, how the hell do these kids know about Manetherin? Like which is a historic, like Manetherin is this historical, historically significant nation,
Okay.
and this great people, and it's their folk song about, and so
the song has history.
It has history,
That's cool.
and so
That's cool.
and you get Moraine to be able to explain the history of Manetherin, and it was such a good moment of like seeing characters interact and like a character caring about his friends to try and cheer him up.
Nice.
And then it weaves into the actual history of the lore of the world.
Yeah.
I loved that moment. That was some of the best part of the show, and it wasn't the action. Like that's what I wanted more of. And we didn't get much of it.
I can relate to you on disappointment from shows, as you know.
Yes. You've convinced me not to watch Game of Thrones at all.
No. I legitimately, that's my opinion, is as fantastic as seasons 1 through 6 are. And when I mean fantastic, like some people don't like season 6 and they think that's where it falls off, but I still think up through season 6 is the best television you can ever watch. But when you finish season 6, you're going to want to continue. You don't want to just end the story there, and you're inevitably going to get to season 8, which is not even debatably, like everyone says this on the internet. Like, you don't have to listen to me for this. Just look anywhere. It is universally the worst season, the worst, just the worst I shouldn't say production, because the cinematography was fantastic. They had so much money to do that. The story,
I heard
the
it was really dark.
characters.
Like scenes were very dark and hard to see.
Episode 3 where the White Walkers attacked and then died in one episode after 8 seasons of buildup of them being the big bad.
Winter is coming, and it's gone.
Winter is coming. We have the most intense. We have the Thanos. The Thanos is coming. This is the climax. This is your doomsday. Never mind, it's Cersei, and it's hiding in King's Landing. She's where this story is going to end off, which, don't get me wrong, Cersei was a great character and a villain, but she's not as threatening as basically zombies. A zombie apocalypse with their White Walkers. I could talk forever about it, but no, it was super disappointing. Wheel of Time, you probably didn't get that much disappointment, I imagine, because the show's just starting. Maybe it can recover. Maybe there's some hope.
I'm hoping they can recover. That maybe they'll take some. I'm also. I went into it and have the understanding that it is an adaptation. It is it is another turning of the wheel. It's not trying to be the books. It is trying to be based on the books.
Oh,
but
cool.
actually, there's like a headcanon lore so the Wheel of Time is basically history repeats itself, and the wheel keeps turning. Ages come and past.
Okay.
And so the headcanon is that the books is one turning of the third or fourth turning of the wheel, and the show is actually like a future version of events. So the same people, the same things, but all a little different. That's the headcanon. But yeah, it doesn't have to be, scene for scene perfect. It doesn't need to be exact, but
It's an adaptation.
yeah, I'm fine with it being an adaptation. I just want it to be good.
That's what Game of Thrones did so fantastically for 6 seasons. They adapted. They didn't do scene for scene. It's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, let's bring it up again. Why not?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is an adaptation. It does not have everything.
I will admit the embarrassing thing for me on the amount of books here I've read, and I have not completed the Lord of the Rings.
But you're making your way there.
I'm making my way. Well, I was intimidated.
Yeah.
I read all these books and thinking oh man, what if I don't like Lord of the Rings? It's classic fantasy. I'm really into this modern fantasy. What if I don't like it? I don't want to not like Lord of the Rings.
Don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, and I just thought yeah, it's a big book. What if I don't like it?
Right.
And then I started reading it and was like, this is pretty great. This is pretty awesome.
Okay, good.
So I'm enjoying it a lot so far. I'm just about done with Fellowship right now.
Okay.
And then I'll move into, Two Towers, and I'll keep going until I get to the Silmarillion, and then keep her going.
At the rate you read, we'll have a review by next podcast. It's incredible how much you can read now.
Well, I've been slowing down on it because I have to study.
That's
So
right.
Unfortunately, I can't read at the
Not for
blazing
college. Not for
speeds.
college, though, for a different thing, right?
No.
Because college we still gave up on.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I may go back. Who knows?
But yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about destroying shows. And it's happened to, I mean, I mentioned Game of Thrones was my biggest disappointment. Your biggest disappointment, I mean, the viewers don't know this yet. They're going to probably hear this a lot, was Doctor Who. And you showed me a couple episodes from earlier seasons, and they're pretty good. I liked it.
Doctor Who hit.
But then what season was it where it just took a dive?
Season 8
Season 8. Oh, so it's
of the modern Who.
So we have that in common. Season 8,
Actually,
Game of
even
Thrones.
Season 8, it was a drop in quality, but maybe Season 10.
Yeah.
But somewhere around there. Even then. But
What
I
are
held
they
on.
now? What season are they on?
I don't know. I've stopped. They've made me not care anymore. Doctor Who was a big part of my wardrobe. It was a big part of my childhood. I made friends around Doctor Who. I got so many people into it. I had a TARDIS piggy bank. I had a TARDIS lamp. I have TARDIS and Doctor Who stuff out the wazoo. I have all of it. I went to conventions. It was my favorite thing.
You went to conventions? That's
I
cool.
did.
didn't
I
know
went
you
to
did
one
that.
convention. Let's be
We
honest.
should go to a convention.
I went
Not
to
a Doctor Who convention.
I went to a convention in Albuquerque. It was an Albuquerque convention, so
What's that mean? I don't know the Albuquerque lingo.
it's out west. It's not a lot of people.
Oh.
It was fun.
They shot Breaking Bad in New Mexico. I mean, you have that.
The Breaking Bad convention would probably be bigger,
Okay.
but Doctor Who fans in Albuquerque, not as big.
Okay, I get your point.
Not as big.
Okay.
But no, I dressed up as Tom Baker's doctor and turned my RC car into K9 and drove it around school. That was my Halloween costume. I fucking loved it. It was great. I love Doctor Who. And that is one of the shows, it had heart. It may not be perfect television. The CGI can maybe look wonky. The characters can be sometimes inconsistent. Or the plot can be kind of tropey, or, ass pulls coming through. Deus Ex Machina, whatever. I did not care.
It's you put your mind aside. It's that
Yeah, I
brainless
liked
watch
it.
of
Well, no,
I like it.
It
yes.
had heart. The
Okay.
characters were fun.
That's
and
the best part
like
about a
I
show.
felt emotion for the characters. And I felt something when things happened to them. That's the main thing. And I enjoyed being on the Doctor's adventure.
That's so cool.
And
The
then
doctor that you showed me was the best was David Tennant.
David Tennant is the best, yeah.
He's your crush.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd run away with that man. Heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean,
Not even gay,
stunning
but
guy.
I would run away with him.
stunning. I mean,
He's the best.
I still don't see how you like him over Henry Cavill. It baffles me.
I will take David Tennant over Henry Cavill.
That's absurd. Now, I was actually gonna make fun of you so many times. You were talking about your fandom and like all the things he did. And I was gonna make fun of you, but I realized I have no room to talk. Especially as we're sitting here in our basement recording a podcast, for which we're how far are we in?
Oh, I have no idea.
Oh, we're a while in, so no one's listening.
Yeah.
Right. No one's listening. We're
You have
good.
a lot of editing work to do.
This is a safe space for us, though. This is that we could just release our feelings,
Nah.
and no one in the world will know what we're gonna say right now.
I had so much hope for the new female doctor.
Okay,
Jodie
I thought you were
Whittaker.
gonna say hope about our podcast. I was gonna say, wow.
Oh no, none
Yeah,
for
no,
that.
okay.
None of that.
Hope
No.
we're changing subjects. Got it.
Nah,
Doctor
just
Who.
Jodie Whittaker. I saw her in Broadchurch. She was really good in Broadchurch. Liked her, and I was like, hey, great.
Okay.
She was a good actress there. Maybe they'll do pretty good. But then they changed out the showrunner, and basically everybody. They got like showrunner, the entire cast. I think they got new writers. They got it was all new people,
Nice. Yeah,
and it sucked from. They had
not nice.
space Nazis. That was a villain, a space Nazi. Time traveling space Nazi. That's a the villain.
Oh, okay. Clarifies it.
Just this white guy from the future went back in time to when Rosa Parks got on the bus, and his big evil plan was to stop Rosa Parks from having her protesting Jim Crow era laws on the bus, and thus would make black people enslaved forever in history. That would cause the chain of events for civil rights never to have happened.
First
That
off,
was
I
the
see some
story.
flaws there. I feel like Rosa Parks would just went to a different bus.
Or something else.
Something else.
Like,
happens.
it's retarded. It's a retarded plot. They couldn't even make the alien look weird or cool. It was just some Aryan white guy. Like, oh yeah, I'm from the future and I don't like black people. That was all he did. It was dull and it was boring and it was awful. Just be creative. Do something neat. But they can't even do that's what I want. I want neat things. They can't even do neat things anymore.
A lot of remakes. A lot of remakes are happening. You see,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters was a big remake. Actually, the Ghostbusters Afterlife, we saw that in theaters.
Well, that's not a remake. That was a continuation.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The remake was the Ghostbusters before that. But you also see the remake, obviously, Lord of the Rings. They're doing that again.
Yeah.
Which, again, maybe not exact remake, but they're going off of it.
I mean, they're doing of course, Star Wars, Star Trek,
Yeah.
all them.
Big problem now is, I wanted to talk about this, subverting expectations.
Yeah.
In these stories, in books, in movies, you see it everywhere. And a big thing now, and you've talked a lot about this with me off podcast, is the way that it seems like subverting expectations is now a focus, where they try to shock the audience with some sort of twist. But the twist
is dumb.
If it's not built up properly, you need to have two primary things for a twist. Number one, it has to be built up in a way that would make sense for the character, obviously.
Yeah.
And if it goes against that character's intuition or how you know them, defeats the whole purpose of a twist. It's not believable. Takes you out of the experience. And number two, has to change the story in a better way.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't do those two things, it's a terrible twist. You have to nail those two on the head for you to be surprised, or not just surprised, but enjoy the twist.
That's a good way to put it. Because if the twist is worse than what the story was going on originally, then no, don't do it.
Why do it?
Why do it? subverting expectations for the sake of it. It's like, yeah, I watched the movie. I expected the movie to be good. You subverted that. Congratulations.
That's a solid point.
But no, it's the same thing with it comes along the same line, the J.J. Abrams mystery box
What's that?
idea. Basically, like, he did a TED talk of, he got this dumb box with a question mark on it. And like, for storytelling, you have a mystery box, and the story is about what's in the box.
Okay.
But whatever's in the box doesn't matter. Don't open the box. And just like, the mystery is the whole point. And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of important.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? It's kind of important of like what the whole plot is about. And you can see it in his movies where he has no end game. He puts these questions, he puts these like, ooh, what about this? Ooh, what about this? Oh, you're going to like, hey, you got to, watch more.
Who will raise parents?
Who will raise parents?
Who is Snow?
He has all these things. And yet, the box is empty. The mystery box is empty. He has nothing inside. It's just doesn't have substance.
Huh.
And that's a terrible writing idea. Like,
J.J. Abrams, what else has he directed?
not much good.
I'll list off a couple. Because I just know him for Star Wars. I should know him for more.
He did Star Trek, which I kind of liked the third one.
Star Trek, he did do Star Trek. He did a couple of them, it looks like.
He did 3.
Okay. He's also done
Graphicon was pretty awful.
Mission Impossible Fallout. Have you seen that? I've not seen that.
Maybe.
He did... oh, God, I don't think we know many of these movies.
Yeah.
Star Wars is the one... Men in Black? The new one. The 2019 one.
Oh.
He did that. Speaking of remakes, that was a remake.
That was a stinker.
Was that a remake or continuation? I don't know. Whatever it was. A lot of the Mission Impossibles and Gone Fishing. That looks like a cute movie.
Yeah.
All right, point proven.
I think he was... I don't know if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
I think he was kind of set up as a successor to Spielberg. Like, I thought him and Spielberg were actually friends of some type, or like, I thought Spielberg maybe mentored him, but doesn't seem to go anywhere.
You're asking the wrong person, for sure.
That's fair.
This is a question we got a friend Jordan, who is a film buff.
He will be a real asset to this podcast.
He will be on this podcast. Yeah.
I need to figure out the technical way to get a third microphone. I don't know how yet.
Yeah, that's gonna cost money too.
We've already dropped like $1,000 into everything.
Yeah,
and that's not including the bookcase I built.
Once again, no one's listening, so we can be very candid about this. Like, we spent almost $1,000.
Yeah.
And have had 0 episodes up. We kind of just said, you know what, screw it. Let's just let's force ourselves to do it. It put us in such a hole that we have to at least do this for 3 months.
Yeah, let's do the sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly. Let's just do it, because otherwise, we're gonna be like, we'll eventually buy it and then do this. Yeah. But no, we
got skin in the game.
Oh, skin in the game. My livelihood is on the line, Richie. I'm counting on this to do well. This was the whole game plan.
Yeah, but
I mean, the setup, not bad at all. I don't know if we mentioned this, but behind me, this bookshelf here, made by Richie. Yeah. Made by yours truly, this bookshelf. And it goes off past me in this direction too, which we need to fill up with books, but eventually we'll be there. Bookshelf all here. This one, IKEA.
Yeah, works well enough.
And the guitar, you might have seen
the biggest lie.
Yeah, biggest lie. Neither of us play guitar, as you could see by our intro and maybe outro of us just screaming into the mics. That's the only thing I know, and the only reason is because it's Lord of the Rings song. You got to. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a big cost to both our pockets and our.
Though, funny enough, it's still not as big a drain as all the books I've recently bought.
That is true.
I have spent a significant portion of my salary on books every month.
And of course, you
Like
know,
that Barnes and Noble's the only store I go in. Like I don't spend under $100.
yeah,
Barnes
and
and Noble, like
don't
every
order it
time I
online.
go.
Go feel it in person. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
get that
it's
nice
so much fun. But like
page turner.
I think I was on the heat of it. I was spending $300 a month on books
Good.
because I was reading about 3 books a week.
Yeah, it was
Or and if it's a Sando
quite
novel,
fast.
then maybe 1 or 2. But like if it's a Gideon or a Poppy War, I could finish that in about 2 days.
yeah.
So honestly, it's good for my wallet that I'm slowing down in my reading.
Now me, I've slowed down in my reading, mainly because
You don't read.
I couldn't even think of a good excuse there. That was
There's so many things I want you to read.
yeah.
Like
I have to get to
of
the
course Wheel of
list.
Time. Like you will have a different appreciation for world building and characters
Okay.
if you read Wheel of Time.
Okay. Okay.
And then for whimsy and dialogue and just the amount of wit, I would say Discworld. Like the amount of smiles that you get from Discworld, it's the 10 out of 10 smile chart. It's the most smiles per page that you can ever have in a book.
You've read some passages to me. You've let me read them,
They're so
and
good.
they're pretty awesome.
They're so good. Then I mean, you got that. You have Shadow of the Gods, which has just been a kind of a surprise hit the past while.
Richie,
There's
I'm
a
going to
bunch
stop
here.
right there. I'm not interested in what you like. This is a podcast. Point to what you hate the most,
That's
and
behind you.
not Name of the Wind.
Oh, I guess the Poppy War.
The Poppy War.
Also behind you.
Really? The Poppy War. Out of all these,
I didn't enjoy it. I
Huh.
know, like a lot of people liked it, but
no, I'm
maybe I
not.
just
I'm
didn't
not
get
saying
it.
that. I didn't read it, but Poppy War. I don't remember you saying you hated it that much. Is that just because all the other books are just solid or better than it? Is it a
I
genuinely
know it's
bad
a
book?
No,
No?
I don't think it is. Like it's well written. I
Okay.
just didn't enjoy the story.
Fair.
The world was I just did not connect with it. I wasn't interested in reading the next book. I bought the next book. I bought both of them together because I heard like, oh, it's gonna be good.
Huh.
But I just never was interested in reading the next book because didn't really care about the main character.
Fair enough.
It was just
And we know how that can feel. I couldn't connect with the main character of Dune, which is why the Dune movie is the worst movie of the year.
we're gonna table that, and that's incorrect. But we're gonna table that.
That'll be
one.
an episode. That'll be a fun one.
Now, Dune was. I'm so glad I read the book before I watched the movie, though. That was
I wish I did.
the book. I can understand why it had such influence. It may not be my favorite sci-fi book ever, but it's up there. And
Hyperion's your favorite sci-fi, right?
Hyperion's the best.
Which another one I have to read. Oh God, I have to catch
God,
up.
you have
with
so
much.
much.
I know.
You have 15 books
But
of
listen,
Wheel of Time. You have
Let's focus one at a time. Dune, we're gonna have a whole episode on that. But
Yeah.
at the very least, our next episode, I think we're going out Thursday night.
yeah.
We're gonna go see Batman, the new Batman, and we'll have a review. We'll have our thoughts, give our mathematical formula
Mathematical review.
on what the new Batman, which is with who? What's his name? The
Pretty boy.
Twilight guy.
Yeah.
Wow, we look so intelligent right now.
I say pretty boy. I think he'll actually be pretty good. I have hope for the
I
movie.
actually do have hope too. A lot of people are dogging on him, and I
think he
a
has
couple
something
clips.
to prove. He
does.
has something to prove in this
does.
movie, and he's trying to reshape his image. Instead of pretty boy vampire, it's cool action hero guy.
You're damn right. You're damn
So
right.
I think he has something.
It's like when Robin Williams would go from obviously he's a comedian. He'd go from all these funny movies and then do a serious role.
His serious roles were the best.
He would kill it.
His best roles were the serious roles. Like
Yeah.
Birdcage is one of the best remakes. It's a remake movie, and it's amazing.
Obviously, Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting.
What is it? He stands on the table. What's that movie? Where he stands on the table. He's the teacher.
I
You
know
what I'm
exactly what you're talking about.
That's gonna
And
get to
my
me.
head's hurting. It's screaming.
Robin
Why do I?
Williams movies. It's gonna come up right away.
It hurts because I like
right
the movie
there.
a lot.
Oh no. Oh no.
My captain. Why?
Oh, that's it. He says my Robin Williams.
We are really showing.
My captain.
Uh,
Dead
I think
Poet Society. God.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
who was watching and maybe cared about our opinions now no longer
You
cares
know what?
about our
I think on
media
that
opinions.
note, we should end the podcast. We'll see you never.
Fair enough.
Well, if you don't see the Batman episode, it's because I accidentally deleted this one too. So
Don't jinx it.
we'll see if this gets up.
Alright. Well, this was however 1.5, 2 hour, whatever
Was it that long?
of Tutor Ramble. Name's Richard.
What is it actually that long? Because that's a lot to edit.
It's a bit.
Oh my god.
You'll figure it out.
Richie, I'm gonna delete it on purpose this time. It's
Screw you.
It's over. I'm not editing that. Are you kidding me?
No.
That's so much time.
You'll figure it out.
Oh god. All right. This is Tutor Ramble.
Hey.